I live independently and I get 16 hours per week to have support workers coming in and to help me do the things that I find difficult.
Well, I live on my own. I have 3 hours support with my support worker once a week.
I had support from Wandsworth Council and they got me in touch with to the Joan Bickmore Centre. I was reviewed and then they sent me to my organisation. So I had a lot of help. I'm still with my organisation and they support me in a lot. And then of course I met my partner.
I have a 44-year-old son. His name is James. When he was about 6 months old, they discovered that he did have Down syndrome. He is now 44, as I said. He lives away from home in a small residential home with 5 other clients. It's fully staffed 24 hours a day. He comes home every weekend and we do lots of things. He's very socially active. In fact, he's termed a social animal. He comes home on Fridays, as I said, after horse riding. And on Sunday at about 6 o'clock, he would say to me, it's time to get ready to go. So he's well aware that he has 2 homes that he can be comfortable in both.
Victoria and Lisa were both young women in their early 20s. We both had profound learning disabilities and a variety of physical disabilities, including very complex health needs. And they lived together in a purpose-built bungalow 5 minutes from King's Cross. They had their own team of workers. The whole thing was set up by me and another parent because we didn't like where they lived before. And they lived safely and happily together for many, many years.
You know, she brought me up since I was like 2 or 3. You know, all that time with her and becoming her carer and looking after her 24 hours a day, doing everything for her, that's stripped away from you once she dies. And it puts you into some kind of trance. You don't know which way to go or what to do. So I had a lot of help. None of the family did, you know, but outsiders, but it should have been my family, you know, and
it should have been your family who supported you, do you
I
think?
think it should have,
But they didn't?
but didn't.
No, okay.
No,
So for you, actually turning to your support workers was better for you because
Yeah.
your family didn't really.
No, they said she's gone, she's gone, you know, and I kept saying to them, yeah, but you've got families, you've got children, you're married, I'm not. And I said, it's hard for my old support worker, because I used to, you know, mention my grandmother, and she quite, you know, she used to come to my flat, and we used to discuss, and she was very understanding about the loss that I had to come, you know, when my grandmother passed away. And because I had support of my organisation as well, I found it more soothing, and I got over it. I didn't get over it completely. It's still, you know, if I talk about my grandmother, it's still, you know, but as my support, she's gone. You know, you've got memories of her, and she's looking down on you, and You know, this is what, you know, my old support worker used to say. You know, she's always above you, you know. So, you know, it was hard at the beginning because I had nobody. But then when I went to my organisation for the first time and I got a support worker, everything started coming together. So it's you know, it's so they've done a lot for me.
When I found out, because he was told before that he had cancer, and they cut it out, and then he was in remission for like 3 to 5 years. No, about 3 to 5 years, and then it came back. But when it came back in 2 different places, and I didn't know. He did very well, but he did that because he didn't want to upset me or worry me. See, I didn't know that when he kept going out and not coming back, we argued a lot more, and I thought that he was just going drinking like he would normally, and that. So I just thought it was just him being his normal self. And so when I found that it was the cancer, I felt really bad that we were arguing a lot more. So, yeah.
So maybe do you think it would have been better for you then to have known if he told you straight away?
Yeah, because then I would have understood, and maybe I wouldn't have argued so much. I would have understood that was his way of dealing with it. And when I got a call from the hospital to saying that my partner is in hospital, wandering around, very confused, would I come in? My support worker came with me, and but because I have a learning disability, the doctors, they were reluctant to tell me too much. I said that I'm entitled to know because I've lived with my partner for like 9.5 to 10 years, and we've never had no secrets. Okay, he protected me that it had come back, but I went with him to every single consultations when he became ill with the cancer before. So what's any different now? And so they told my support worker, and my support worker told me. I was more or less there, but in the distance. I found it hard, but I knew. You have that, I don't know, instinct that something's not right. And I think because I knew my partner and that, we had that bond, and so it wasn't exactly a real shock. It was a shock that they couldn't just come out and just say this. I think what was the initial shock was how long he had to live. That was the overall shock of knowing when they turned around and said 3 to 4 months. I'd rather of them just come out. I knew. See, I might have a learning disability, but it's only a mild. And they didn't really know that I had a learning disability. It didn't really show. The only reason why they knew that it was because I had to tell them that I couldn't retain too much information and that I had to have a support worker with me to retain that information.
If I was to become very ill, I would be very scared and maybe anxious and nervous because I don't know what was going to happen to me in the future. I hope I can stay independent for as long as possible, but things change all the time and we never know what will happen from day to day.
And is that something you think about sometimes or often or not very much or never?
It's something that I think about all the time.
At some point when you will be older and maybe getting more ill, it might be more difficult to manage on your own, right?
This is what
So
it
you
does
have-
scare me actually. We have talked about, but it does scare me what's going to happen in the future. I don't want to go into a care home, but it could happen.
This is because you love your home and your
Yes.
independence and
Yes.
yeah.
But the other thing that could happen as well is that maybe I can stay in my home and then maybe I will need a carer to stay with me 24/7 because that's something that I would like to do rather than move out of my home actually. I'd be
Yes.
if I had to make the decision where I could no longer look after myself or I got very, very ill, and then I would have to talk it over with my family, or there could be a time that I might not be able to make the decision and they will have to make the decision for me.
And do you think support workers have any role or job in this, or is it really only family that you would turn to?
I would turn to my support worker if it was somebody that I trust. If it was a support worker that I didn't know very well, then no, I wouldn't.
4 years ago he lost his dad, so it's just him and I now. He's finding it a bit difficult some weeks because I think with Down syndrome you are not aware of the time factors, so he can't tell you from day to day if it's a day or a year or a week. If he has to go somewhere, for example, if he's going on holiday, you can't tell him until the very last minute. If not, he would start packing 3 weeks in advance and ready to go. So I think there's a problem with the time factors with him. He still thinks that his dad is coming back, so that is a difficult area for him. There were weeks would go by and he wouldn't mention it, and then there were weeks when he would come and start questioning it again. His last trip was to Florida last year, and he visited the Space Center. And there he realized that rockets can go into the sky, and he says his dad is in heaven, and heaven is beyond the sky. So he decided that this would be a way to access his dad. So send a rocket up to get him back. It is difficult, particularly for a child with a learning disability, to understand. They can accept that someone has died, but what the word means, it's quite different from what we perceive. He thinks that you die and you're not there anymore. But at some stage you should be able to come back. You should be able to sort of visit me and I visit you at will. He's becoming more and more accustomed to not having him at home. But he would still look for him from day to day. He would come in and say, "Is my dad there?" And I said, "No, he's not here. You know where he is." "Oh yes, he's in heaven." And that's it. End of conversation. He won't raise it again. But probably in 2 weeks' time, he would say the same thing. So it's sort of being able to convey that there is no coming back when you die. So although he accepts it, he doesn't understand it. His grandmother, he was quite young, but his granddad, again, he knows he's dead, and we go around to his house because we have friends living in the house. And he says it's his granddad's house, but he's dead. Again, he knows he's not there in the house. So the terminology, death, it means he's not there. It's easier for him a better concept of him, you're not there. Although the word doesn't entail what it means to you and I, they know that it's an end of something. Maybe not the return bit of it, but the end of something. I think just sticking to the point that the person isn't going to come back after they have died is the important factor. Because although they don't understand what death means, they will understand non-return. So it would be putting the two together and deciding in the best possible way that this is the end.
It's difficult to say really, because although she was never able to explain anything to me as her mum, I used to tell her everything that was happening, and I used to say to her, "Lovey, you can go whenever you want, you know, just when you're ready, you can just close your eyes and just go." She stopped eating. It was a battle to get her any food into her for about a year, and then about a month she really didn't want to eat. So I think, I don't know whether she knew in her heart, just stop this. When I look back now, I think that was her way of saying, well, it's enough, I'm going to go. I don't know, who can say? I certainly think she chose her moment. I certainly think she did. We think Lisa understood much more than Victoria, in as much that she could watch television, she could use an iPad for pictures and stuff. If you talk to her sometimes, her face looked as if she could really understand, whereas we never knew whether Victoria understood anything at all, although I always spoke to her as if she did. So we were very conscious that this was Lisa and Victoria's house, and we needed to be honest with her. And with somebody with profound learning disabilities as her. We had to tell her again and again and again, and a lead-up period of about 6 months, that Victoria is very ill, she's probably going to die, we don't know when, using the same words. We know that, the same words over and over. And the week, the week that Victoria was dying, we invited Lisa in to come in every day in the morning to have coffee with Victoria. No, Victoria wasn't awake and didn't have coffee, but the staff all had a cup of coffee. They made a little, a little ritual of it, and then Lisa would come in if there were guests, and she wanted to come in. Sometimes she'd just go like that, and then she'd go out again. But often she would sit there while we were laughing, and we'd all hold hands if we were doing silly games. And then she'd come in the evening to say goodnight to Victoria. And on the Saturday when we knew she was going, Lisa came in twice, and twice she sat there and her head went down, and we could see tears coming down. And we said, say goodbye to Victoria. She may not be here tomorrow. She was told. And she wasn't given all the, I didn't tell her about going up to the angels and whatever. I just said, Victoria is so poorly, she's going to die, Lisa. So say goodbye. And Lisa's hands used to go, rest the hand right. And I said, give me your hand. I put her on Victoria's hand. I said, say goodbye. And that's when the tears come. See, they pick up, even maybe she didn't understand, but they can pick up from your body language and almost what's in your heart. Victoria could pick up what I was feeling. She could pick up what her staff were feeling.
Between that first appointment and the second appointment, which was 10 days prior, he deteriorated from there to there like that. He got so weak. He was due to, we'd got everything finalised, got everything settled for him to come home, but he got so weak that he wouldn't have survived the journey. So I said to my partner that I'm sorry that your wishes, I am sorry, I can honour them, because you are dying and you're too weak to actually get home. So I'm sorry that you have to stay, but I am with you. I couldn't leave the room, and my support worker who was supporting me, she came as well. But I was in the room for at least 2 hours. And that after, and I still couldn't, but I did.